Hey, Sam, I wanted to check in with you on our baby. The social media training for elected officials is a project we've been putting together. What kind of feedback are you getting from the city managers in the community?
The biggest pain point is actually the elected officials and how they're responding to social media versus, maybe even the keyboard warriors themselves. Like the elected officials desperately need to understand how to take this stuff in context.
That's the brilliance of your training is showing the elected officials how they can control their response and how that can have a positive or negative impact on the organization based on that response.
100%. One other learning I have that I want to share is I've had a few city managers ask, well, can I preview the training? Can I come to the training before I send my elected officials? Because, some of you don't know me and may not trust me. Totally fine, right? So it's only $99 if you sign up through civysocial.com/AAME, Joe's special link, and you can come check it out. And you're like, oh, yep, this is exactly what my electeds need. Then you can send them off and get them reprogrammed and take that pain point, make it go away.
If you're a city manager who has some social media keyboard warriors who are driving you insane and making you pull your hair out because your council is responding to it in such a negative way, you need to check out this new course by Sam Tolles at Civi Social. All right, all right, all right. I'm Joe Turner, and this is the City Manager Unfiltered podcast, a podcast for city managers and other public sector executives. It is the most influential local government podcast in America. And this is Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. I'm sure many of you all are traveling for the holidays, and hope you enjoy that time with your family. This is going to be a little bit of a filler episode, so I apologize in advance. But with it being the holiday week and generally listenership kind of drops during the holidays, as I'm sure you guys can understand. This is gonna be a little bit of filler episode, and what I mean by that is I want to play a clip from a city manager down in Florida who, upon being terminated, just before he was terminated officially, he had an opportunity to put forth a passionate defense of his tenure, to rebut some of the criticisms that have been lobbed against him on social media and at the meeting in which he was terminated. And I just felt he set a really good example for many of us and how we should handle our future terminations. Because, like like the saying goes. So what is that saying? There's only two kinds of city managers out there: those who have been fired and those who haven't been fired but will soon be fired. So anyway, I think Mr. Mike Mortell, he's the former city manager for Stuart, Florida, down on the Atlantic coast side. I think north of Vero Beach, if I remember correctly, or Port St. Lucie, something like that. Anyway, back in late October, I had a bunch of people sending me some messages saying I should check out this meeting. I watched the YouTube video of it, and I've been meaning to talk about it for a while. And generally speaking, I have not really done these type of episodes in the past where I take significant footage or video footage or audio footage from a meeting and I play it. But again, I thought he handled himself so well and covered his bases. I thought it set a really good model for how you guys might want to passionately defend yourself in the event that you're terminated. I think too often many of our peers put their tail between their legs. They don't want to be confrontational. They just want to slink off and not really make a scene or a fuss because they're afraid that by speaking up it might hurt them for a future job prospects. But I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the right way to go. I think too often this day and age with the digital footprints and social media that we are too often allowing our critics and the public and the media to define who we are as city managers and who we are as people. And I think too often we do not speak up and make a very passionate or eloquent defense of our tenure. And there's a lot of crazy things that get said on social media and at these meetings before you get terminated. And in fact, I was reading one article about Mr. Mortell down in Stuart, and one of the residents down there said something to the effect that, let me get the quote here. And this person, Steven, said, quote, "Firing a city manager via trial by Facebook is wrong," end quote. I just felt that was a really insightful and relevant comment to be made about the real sort of battlefield that the city managers are now operating on in this day and age. The game has changed so much in the last 20 years when it comes to how city managers are criticized and how their reputations are tarnished. And man, Facebook is very damaging if you're not careful. And we've talked about that. And, we can plug Sam Tolles and his work on the social media front when it comes to educating and training city staff, city managers, and now the elected officials, right? We have that new program that he started, that new course where he's educating the elected officials about how to handle the social media criticism. And we all know Facebook's one of the toughest platforms out there. So before we get to that clip where Mortell defends himself, I wanted to give a couple of quick little announcements. Last week, I had really good feedback on my interview with my criminal defense attorney. A lot of folks reached out to me and said she was phenomenal. They liked the episode. They appreciate me peeling back the curtain a little bit. I was really hoping to have her on the podcast next week, but we got another round of depositions, so I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to try to get her on the podcast again before the end of the year to update you all on my case. We went to court on November 20th. The judge continued the case to January, so we have another 2 months now before our next court date, our next scheduled court date. And because I'm not going to have her on the show next week, can announce it now. I'm going to have an interview with Michael Stahl. He's of the Mental Hygiene Project. So we're going to have an episode next week where we talk about mental health issues and leadership development. I've been a little bit hesitant about having these sorts of episodes in the past, and we talk about that a little bit in the episode. So I won't drag it out here. But I think you guys will enjoy it. I thought it was a pretty illuminating experience to go through one of their leadership development training assessments, which we talk about in that the episode more. So be on the lookout for that episode. Again, that's going to be the Mental Hygiene Project interview with Michael Stahl. Yeah, so again, thank you all for your support. It's been a tough year, as you guys know. I've told you numerous times, but I do appreciate the kind words and feedback I've received since doing the episode last week with my criminal defense attorney. And so now I'm going to turn it over again to Mike Mortell, the former city manager for Stuart, Florida. I just thought he did a really good job of how he handled himself, where he got a chance to get the last word in, and man, he was he was sitting on that fastball with a 3-0 count, and I just thought he knocked it out of the park. So give it a listen and let me know what you think.
I'm calling back to order this regular meeting of the Stuart City Commission for the 27th of October, 2025. So we've concluded public comment. Do the commissioners have any comments or questions? Would they like to hear from Mr. Mortell?
I would like to respond to some of the allegations that I've heard against my without cause tonight.
Is there any objection to Mr. Mortell?
Which specific ones were they?
I don't know. Let's all of them.
Okay.
Just the insulting ones.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mortell.
First, I just wrote some notes here at the end because I couldn't help myself. I've sat here quietly for a long time, and most recently, it's been since Commissioner Reed ambushed me with the firing a couple weeks ago. But when I listened to the people speak, I was truly humbled by the outpouring from the community, and I'm going to get into that in a second. But I also heard people speak that spoke against me. The recent ones were the Hamiltons, and they got up and Commissioner Reed assisted them for the last 6 months or so to publicly abuse me every 2 weeks and to accuse me of crimes and to tell me I'm a fraud and a liar. And whoever out there is yelling it out, that's impressive too. In any event, what really happened was there was a contractor that did some bad work at their house, and our CRA director within 2 weeks told them he was going to that she would have their windows replaced and their roof repaired. But that wasn't enough. It was a grant paying for it, and they wanted a different type of insulation and air conditioning for their whole house, even though it wasn't included in the grant. And they weren't signing anything unless they got the air conditioning on top of it. And then we started investigating it. And during the investigation, I had found out that they had gone out and applied for an SBA loan and received a $41,000 grant that said that their home was an office and that their office had commercial office insurance on it and that they had never gotten a change of use for residential purposes. and that was all still in play because the bankruptcy was filed in March of 24. And I stopped then and said, wait a second, guys. When the city first applied for this grant, we didn't know they were committing 2 types of grant fraud. But I can't, in good conscience, let my staff move forward on this because then they'll be complacent in part of it. And the city of Stuart doesn't do that stuff. And the city didn't do it. And those of you choking on yourselves, maybe you do it and maybe you look the other way, but we don't. And the city never has, because the city's had a culture of honesty. And in our staff meetings, we talk about it every week. And you guys enjoy the fact that the Hamiltons were committing the fraud. But the fact is, if we participated in that, it would jeopardize all of the future grant applications for the city of Stuart as well. And Commissioner Reed knew about it. Commissioner Reed, I told him myself. He also went over to the Hamiltons' house on multiple occasions and saw all the work they were doing in the house on their own without a permit. But just like Robin Cartwright said, let's not treat them differently than the guy on Isla Street that Mike sought a $43,000 loan against. Instead, Mr. Reed allowed him to continue working with no violation of the code. But it goes on, and we continue forward, and they pull their hearing, and they do the whole thing on me, and it all of a sudden is my fault. But before I could get it even resolved, the city has a thing, it's called the Municipal Handbook, and it says that the commission's job is to set the policy of the city, and the staff's job is to do the administration. And as city manager, Frank McChrystal said it tonight, the city manager has to carry out the staff's or the commission's directives and policy. And as city manager, I did that. The city commission before them was pro Costco. I did Costco, and that's why Robin Cartwright's been after me. And then after that, they were pro Brightline. And then this commission didn't want Brightline, and we turned off Brightline. And this commission wanted to do a zoning in progress. Who handled the zoning in progress? It was me. If I wanted to be contrary to this commission's actions, I could have gone out and hired some consultant that would have drug it through the mud, and it would have taken 10 times as long, and it wouldn't have gotten done in the 6 months. And you know what else? I wouldn't have been called an idiot by people telling me that I was not following good planning practices and that I really needed to be pushing mixed use and other things like that. Instead, what I did was exactly what the commission wanted me to do. I brought it forward, and I got it done in 6 months, and every single initiative they wanted adopted was adopted. That's what happened. And then when that was finished, we moved on to the budget, and they wanted $1 million cut from the budget, and I was only able to do $917,000. But it was pretty darn close. So I challenge you guys that want to choke on comments and make fun of me to think about what it was I didn't do that this commission wanted. Because every single thing they wanted, I did. And that's okay. And I know that we can be fired at any time, but not for cause, for any reason or the will of the board. And honestly, that's their prerogative, and I totally get it. But that's not what happened in this case. What happened in this case is Commissioner Reed brought up that he wanted to see my contract. He then never mentioned to me or the city attorney that he was planning on firing me for the next 2 weeks. Never mentioned it, and we saw each other probably 5 different times. He even saw the Stuart News, spoke to them about it, and they asked him flat out, because they called me and said, is he going to fire you? And I said, I don't know. You ought to call him and ask him. Next day I read in the newspaper that they did in fact ask him. And he said, no, I'm not firing him. I just want to review his contract and make some changes to it. Is that transparency? It would be if he didn't, first thing out of his mouth at the next meeting, say, I'm going to fire him, and move to fire him for cause, and then say, oh, but wait, he's a good guy, and I don't want to fire him. I don't want to say all the bad things he's done. So if he resigns, we won't have to abuse him. He wanted me to walk away from my contract, and I didn't. So you know what I got? Abused. You guys have all read it, day in and day out. I got abused. I got abused tonight. It was fun. You guys choking on it. You think it's great. I hope it comes back to you one day. I'm okay with it because I know I didn't commit any crimes, I didn't do anything for cause, and I didn't endorse a fraud on Florida commerce. I stood firm on it. And the other one was the Rudges and some thing that I did in 2009. The city of Stuart was never even a party to their lawsuit after they signed full releases in 2012. And whatever they said I did went to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeal and the 4th DCA on appeal, and were all affirmed. We're all accurate. And you know how much it cost the city? Nothing. You know why? Because I defended it, and that's why she's mad at me. I could have said go hire some other lawyer and let us spend $100,000 defending a frivolous lawsuit, but I didn't.
I'm not mad at you. I love you.
You had your turn. So Frank McChrystal said if you're giving him a chance to play ball and it has not happened, then you have a job to do. And I told him during the break, I respect Frank, and I totally agree with what he said. And I challenged Frank, next time you see me, tell me if you can think of something I did where I didn't play ball. And the board knows that I've implemented every goal they've wanted, and if they've come to me and asked me to do something, I've done it. They even said I did a good job last meeting. It was just that Commissioner Reed didn't get to hire the city manager, and therefore he wants to hire his own, which is fine. That's the board's prerogative. But that's not for cause. That's say it. Be honest with the public. Tell them what your real motivation is. I wish Commissioner Reed had told everybody that when he was running for office, so they would have known that too when they were pulling the lever to vote. But he didn't, because that's not transparency. I've adjusted my position every time. This is not a situation where I failed to go along with the program. There's been increasing friction between Mortell and the majority of the commission over the last 6 months. And they're right, there has. And it's been horribly frustrating for me. And I've been sitting here quietly, and I've been cringing over the last 6 months because it started when Commissioner Reed started calling Florida Commerce and making private phone calls with them and sending them emails and doing administrative work, which violates the city charter, the city policy, the municipal handbook, without a doubt. It also included every other Monday when he would ambush me with a Hamilton thing, even though he saw me the week before. It got so bad that there was comments around staff. We knew when Commissioner Reed was going to ambush me, it'd be when he didn't come see me the Friday before. But I stood quietly. I let it happen. Even during this meeting, members of the public laughed about how the city was operating in the past. They did not recognize the staff's job is to follow policies adopted by the city commission. I think it's interesting that they blame me for doing what the commission asked in the past, Brightline, Costco, whatever it might be. But now, when I say what the commission asked me to do now, it doesn't count, and it doesn't matter. And if I were to stay, the next commission would blame me for doing what this commission wanted. But that's what a city manager is supposed to do. And I hope that the next city manager has the courage to come to this city and to follow the culture we used to have in this city without the fear of retribution. But what else happened over the last 6 months? Well, we did the zoning in progress, and we pushed it through, and we got it done. But then the state stepped in, and they pushed Senate Bill 180 on us. And I was the first one to say, guys, we can't follow the zoning in progress anymore. We've got to pull it because Senate Bill 180 says we're supposed to rescind everything back to last August. But on August 11th, even though I was saying that's a violation of state law, this commission said, nope, we're telling staff to violate state law. And the next day, I had to go to the staff meeting and say the commission voted we're going to continue to follow our zoning in progress. And the answer was, well, what about Senate Bill 180? We're going to challenge that and say it's unconstitutional, which, by the way, is a great thing to do if you want to challenge a law. That's exactly what you do. However, while it's pending, if you go back and watch the August 11th meeting, the city attorney and I were telling this board, hey guys, it's kind of like if a person went out drinking and then they got pulled over for drinking and driving and the sheriff said, I'm going to arrest you for DUI. You say to the sheriff, oh no, you can't arrest me. I'm going to challenge this law for being unconstitutional, so it doesn't apply to me. That's what happened. That's transparency. But you know what? I sat quietly. It wasn't until I read and saw everything that this board did to me over the last 2 weeks, and the lack of confidence and the fact that they would hammer every one of the staff of the city of Stuart, and me included, and it didn't matter who was in their way. And what I did for the last 6 months, and really for the last year, was defend my staff. I wasn't involved in the Hamiltons thing. That was a CRA matter, but I stood right in front of it and owned it, because that's what you do. But the city lost touch with the process and the structure that used to be the city of Stuart's government. And it used to be that the commission would give policy, and that when someone would go to the commissioners, instead of trying to take over the matter and solve it on their own, they would come back to staff and have staff do it. And the city code of conduct clearly states that that's what needs to happen. And all the commissioners sign it, and it's in the charter. You can look it up. The charter refers to the code of conduct, and it's right there. And Commissioner Reed said he didn't care as much about the code of conduct as he does about the Commission on Ethics, but it shouldn't be, I care about this one more than I care about this one. It should be both matter. It should be that staff matters. It should be that everyone matters. It should be that the people here matter and that people's voices matter. But that's all gone because they no longer matter. What matters is the decision that was made before we got here. And how are we going to ram it down everybody's throat? I know that I'm sounding a little frustrated, but you know why? Because I am. And it's not because I'm losing my job. I accepted that 2 weeks ago when I found out I was losing my job. I knew that it wasn't for cause, and I was going to stand firm on that. I want to take a minute to thank the residents of the community from the bottom of my heart, because over the past several days, I've been truly humbled by the incredible outpouring of support. And Robin Cartwright made up stories that she knew I was the one behind putting out everybody and getting everybody to do it. Completely made up. I didn't do any of it. I didn't return the media's calls, ask them. I didn't email them back. I didn't ask anybody to do any of the rallies for me. And in fact, I actually asked people not to, because I said the only chance I have of getting my job is if this commission doesn't think it's me versus them, and that if these rallies happen, it's going to look like it's me versus them. But when I saw that it was clear that it was just, let's have fun and batter Mike Mortell for the next 2 weeks, I was like, you know what? I don't care if the rallies happen. In fact, I'm happy they're happening because I get to see the people actually come out for me. And you know what? It's been heartwarming. It's been great. It really has. And I've always loved Stuart, and I still do. The city is made up of many different types of people, and all of them deserve to be included in the process. But the process matters, and the structure matters, and the culture matters. And every single Tuesday when I have to tell my staff, yes, we're going to do this, and we are going to work through this, and it's going to be fine, and you guys know you're going to be okay. And when Commissioner Reed went into the development office during the budget cycle and started telling people, you're not on the list to get fired, I'll make sure you're saved. And he was not doing it on purpose. He didn't even realize he said it. But 2 people came to my office crying that day. Now, I said to them, he was just in passing. He didn't mean it. Because he didn't. I don't think he even remembers it.
I don't even remember saying that, but I'm listening.
It happened, and if you don't believe me, I'll be gone. They're not going to be afraid to talk about me after I'm gone, so talk to them tomorrow. But this proceeding would not have gone this way if there had been true transparency. If Commissioner Reed had gotten up whenever he got up and said, you know, I just never had it for Mike Mortell. I don't feel he's the right guy for the job, and the contract says I can fire him, and I'm going to fire him because of that. Nothing would have come of it. There would have been no rallies. There would have been no nothing. It would have been just like a couple commenters said, city managers come and go. But what really happened is Commissioner Reed teed it up for his Facebook friends to bash my teeth in for 2 weeks and said, if Mike doesn't resign, we're going to fill you in and let you know it all what's going to happen. And the media's all here so we can ask him. Every time they asked Commissioner Reed what it was, he'd say, stay tuned and come Monday. We're going to tell you Monday. But the Code of Conduct calls that an ambush and says that commissioners should be removed for being an ambush. So if anybody's doing anything wrong, maybe it's the people doing the ambush. And honestly, I don't think Commissioner Giobbe has been deeply involved in it. I think that obviously she came and met with me and we had a nice conversation and she was candid about it. And she even said to me, you're not being fired for cause in her book. But she had her own reasons, and I respect that, and that's her choice. But if I wasn't being fired for cause, then why was I being fired for cause? And why was it all about me being delayed, and we have to wait to find out what the cause is, and we're going to have the cause, and here comes the cause? It was because they wanted to be able to say the traffic violation and the Stephen Vitale real estate transaction. Stephen Vitale is a very grounded person in our community, and any one of you can ask him. I never had a single discussion with him about selling that lot, participating in the sale of that lot, or having anything to do with that lot. His lawyer contacted me to put it on the agenda, and I put it on the agenda. It was on the front page of the newspaper after that. It turns out my wife and I live on the street, so multiple people approached her and said, hey, is that lot for sale? And it wasn't, because we didn't split the lot that night. It didn't get split until he closed on it and did whatever he did a month or so later. And I didn't call him on the phone or talk to him about it. I didn't have a single conversation. And he didn't promise me anything for putting it on the agenda. In fact, it's kind of sad that Facebook page would actually make those accusations and want to drag your community through the dirt like that just so you can feel a little sensationalism. It's gross because it didn't happen. And you know what else? I've offered to sit down with you many times and tell you what happened, but you won't, because you don't want the real truth. And not one person met with Stephen to do any of this investigation. And in fact, last week when I asked Commissioner Reed if he got all the goods on me, he started talking about the traffic thing, knowing that it's not much. And then when I said to him, well, you know, it's funny because the Commission on Ethics says you're not supposed to use your position as a city commissioner to be meeting with the union members to read the email that you read, to take that position in order to use it for your personal gain. And he goes, oh, I've known about it for weeks. Okay, so you weren't transparent during the first 3 meetings we had because you never brought it up. Or you were, but you didn't bring it up anyway? I don't get it. But what I know for sure is that I don't care when you found out about it, when you used your position as a city commissioner to get the email and meet with the union members that you were talking about, that was a real violation of a real law. And I've been here 25 years, and there's no violations that I've done in 25 years. The best thing we can come up with is that I got driving on a suspended license that was dismissed later because I had paid the ticket, and that my wife, who was a realtor, did a real estate transaction. Be careful, guys. It's a bigger conspiracy than that. Stephen Vitale did a closing for me in 2002 as well. But it was part of the plan, right? Because that's how it'll play out. It wasn't. That's not what happened. But it also occurred to me that I had members of my staff saying to me, can you believe Commissioner Giobbe told the media that they would never tell the staff not to follow state law? And I told them, no, Commissioner Giobbe did not say that to intentionally lie to the media. I don't think Commissioner Giobbe realizes that they told staff not to follow state law. And as we sit here at this moment, I still feel that way. I don't think she lied to the media. I think that she just doesn't realize that the action they took on August 11th at about 2 hours into the meeting when they told staff not to follow state law was actually telling staff not to follow state law. But I digress. I want to take a moment and thank all of you, including the ones that don't like me and that want to come to the meetings, because you know what? You kept me straight. It's not, you weren't the first ones that came to meetings and did it. It's been happening my whole career. There's always somebody in the audience, and that's good. That's good balance. It makes everybody mind their P's and Q's. I don't have any problem with that. Thank you. I've spent my life serving Stuart, not for the recognition, but because I truly love Stuart. I moved away, and I wanted to come home again. And Stuart's my home. And Stuart was my parents' home, and Stuart's my children's home, and Stuart's going to remain my home after I'm not the city manager in about 15 minutes. But I love this city, and I love the people who make up this city. And seeing so many people come together and speak out and stand up for what they believe in has been one of the most meaningful experiences of my career. And I know it's not standing up just for me. I think it's the straw that broke the camel's back, and I think they were standing up for lots of different reasons, and I might be the catalyst to it. But the truth of it is, I got to see it, and I got to feel like it was for me, and it will go with me to my grave. It was honestly the most honoring and respectful thing that I've ever received in my entire career. No matter what happens and whoever takes my place, I'll never forget the passion of Stuart and those for and against whatever the issues are, and the ability to speak about it, and the structure and the culture that we used to have where people didn't use misinformation on social media to twist things and make people look bad because they like divisiveness and they like having their community at each other's throats, and they think it's great because they got a like or a checkbox or whatever they got from it and makes them feel like a big shot for 15 minutes. I'm deeply grateful for everyone's support, and I'll always genuinely hope, I will always be genuinely hopeful that Stuart will find its way back to the happiest seaside town. My sincere hope is that the City of Stuart can return from the form of government envisioned by our charter, one where the City Commission focuses on setting policy on behalf of the residents, and the professional staff carries out those policies without interference. Overall, I'm hopeful that we can return to a local government where the staff is not afraid to tell the Commission that they must follow the law, where staff is not afraid of retribution for following the charter, the policies, the code of conduct, the state statutes. I'm also saddened that I'm losing my job, because I have continuously expressed concern to the board regarding those policies and those laws. And ever since I was on the Board of Adjustment in 1992, I felt a desire to work for and with the people of Stuart. And I've done so. But last Thursday, at about 2 o'clock, I was also threatened, like Mr. Reed, but I didn't run to the police. I was told that if I don't resign and waive my contractual rights by today, that this commission was going to bring up the driving on a suspended license and the real estate transaction. Now that's actually extortion. It's the real deal. Not pretend, but the real deal. And I said, if they bring it up on Monday, I'm bringing up the extortion on Monday. And they still brought it up. I don't know if it's because of a lack of experience or a just complete disregard for all of it. But it happened, and I was threatened with it for real. Now, I'm pretty sure that my closing remarks have swayed the commission to keep me. But the funny part is, I knew before I even got here tonight I was fired. Go look at my office. I moved out last week.
Oh, hallelujah.
Yeah, and we're happy for you too, Mrs. Rudge. You've been such a treat. I don't have to be quiet and polite to your rudeness anymore.
I love you.
I just want to thank those of you, all of you, for caring. I just wish some of you would stop getting your only information from the lies you find on social media. And I hope that all of you find the moral turpitude to hold everybody accountable and to not let anybody not follow the policies and not follow the procedures and not follow the state law. And hopefully tomorrow, after I'm gone, the city will turn back around and stop doing it all. But I've been unable to keep it from happening. I've been begging Commissioner Reed to stop contacting Florida Commerce. They actually called me on the phone and said, he is blowing us up, were their words. I then had to look up and see some of the emails he sent them, like, you must be at the next meeting. They told me that he contacted a state representative to get them in trouble for not calling him back fast enough. They told me that he wanted to know how much money we were going to be giving the Hamiltons. I mean, it was crazy stuff. I mean, I can't even believe it myself. But he knew it. And when I asked him about it, he'd say, I'm not calling them at all. I'm not talking to them, nothing. And the city attorney was standing right there when I asked. So it wasn't just the two of us. And there's no doubt that it continued and continued and continued, so much so that the Hamiltons won't even talk to staff. They'll only talk to Commissioner Reed, which is why at the last meeting I said, let's have Commissioner Reed handle it from here on out. He's still doing such a wonderful job with the administration of the city that he should be the one in charge. Because I can't be, because he's usurped all of my authority. And when I tell someone like Mr. Hamilton, no, we're not going to give you air conditioning on top of your grant money, and he says, yes, you are. If you want to get rid of me, you're gonna, or you're going to be gone. And he starts this campaign, and look who won, Mr. Hamilton. But you know what? I didn't give him his air conditioning, and I didn't commit the fraud. And I'll live with that. That's all I've got. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to serve this community.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's the former city manager for the city of Stuart, Florida, Mike Mortell. He put a 30-minute speech together. He made a passionate defense of his record, his tenure, and he got a standing ovation from the crowd. And I'm really curious to get your guys' thoughts on his approach, his tact, and whether or not it's something you guys would emulate or model your future behavior after if you are in the unfortunate situation of being terminated. You know, you got to think about those future job prospects and the fact that when you get fired, so often your future prospective employers only see the bad articles written or the social media. And a lot of times, I think city managers leave these opportunities on the table and they don't take advantage of it because it's very rare for you to get the opportunity to speak unfettered for an extended period of time and make a passionate defense of your tenure and your record. And that can be used to your benefit as you're going through the next job search, right? And you need to give those people who are looking to hire you the ammo to support and defend their selection of you if they want to move you forward in that process. If the council who's looking to hire you only has bad articles and social media comments to look at, it's really tough for them to make a passionate defense of you or advocate for you on behalf of the organization if they want to hire you. So again, that's one of the reasons why I think more city managers need to be aggressive about defending their reputation and making sure that their narrative is being voiced and put out there so that other folks can see it and take it into consideration. So anyway, I'm Joe Turner. This is the City Manager Unfiltered podcast, a podcast for city managers and other public sector executives. I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving and catch you next week.